In the silent hours before dawn, the Giza Plateau breathes like a living creature. Shadows stretch across ancient stones, and the pyramids rise like frozen giants reaching for the heavens. Their weathered faces catch the first light of day, whispering secrets carved in mathematics and mystery. For over 4,000 years, they have stood as monuments to an age we barely understand, defying time, reason, and human limits. Who placed these colossal stones with such impossible precision? Who aligned their angles with the stars as if mapping the heavens themselves? Tonight, we step beyond the textbook version of history, peeling back the layers of accepted truth to face the question no one dares to answer. Who really built the pyramids? Beneath the scorching Egyptian sun, on the edge of the Nile's fertile floodplain, history tells us a story both majestic and strangely mundane. According to the official narrative, the Great Pyramid was born during Egypt's Old Kingdom in the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, around 2589 BCE. Khufu, known to the Greeks as Cheops, was a ruler consumed by the obsession of immortality, determined to craft a tomb so vast it would outlast the sands of time. He commanded thousands of workers to transform limestone and granite into an eternal monument to his divine status. Archaeologists describe an organized workforce, not slaves, but skilled laborers who lived in carefully planned worker villages near the Giza Plateau. These workers, they say, were fed with rich diets of beef and fish, housed in communal quarters, and treated as respected craftsmen rather than expendable tools. Inscriptions left behind boast of work gangs with names like Friends of Khufu, evidence that they took pride in their task. Modern discoveries, like bakeries capable of feeding thousands, animal bones revealing protein-rich meals, and graffiti etched into the stones themselves, support this vision of a loyal workforce dedicated to serving their pharaoh and the gods. The tools, though primitive by our standards, were ingenious in their simplicity. Copper chisels, hardened by hammering, sliced through limestone with surprising precision. Wooden sledges dragged blocks across the sand, their runners lubricated with water to reduce friction. Ropes twisted from Nile Delta fibers hauled granite stones from Aswan, hundreds of miles away, floated down the river on massive barges. Wooden levers, long as a man is tall, shifted multi-ton blocks inch by inch into perfect alignment. Even the ramps used to build the pyramids were said to spiral upward through the interior, allowing workers to move stones without external scaffolding. For centuries, this was the accepted truth, a story of human determination and organization. The Great Pyramid, covering over 13 acres, rising to an original height of 481 feet, was the tallest man-made structure on Earth for nearly 3,800 years. Its four sides were aligned to the cardinal directions with uncanny accuracy, deviating by mere minutes of arc. The entire base was leveled within just 2 centimeters, a feat remarkable even by modern engineering standards. It was, by every measure, the crowning achievement of a civilization at its peak, powered by copper tools, manpower, and an unshakable belief in life after death. But even as we admire this narrative of human ingenuity, cracks appear in its foundation. The logistics are staggering. Over 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing 2 to 15 tons, were cut, transported, and placed with such precision that even a razor blade cannot slip between them. Historians tell us this was accomplished in just 23 years, requiring workers to move, position, and perfectly align more than 300 blocks every single day. Could copper chisels really carve granite harder than steel? Could ropes made from plant fibers bear the weight of stones heavier than modern trucks? Could ramps stretching miles into the desert realistically support such an effort without leaving undeniable traces? The deeper we look, the more we sense the story might be incomplete. The official version paints Khufu as a visionary ruler with near-divine authority. Yet the human limitations of the era make the scale of his pyramid almost impossible to reconcile with what we know of ancient technology. Imagine a timeline that demands over 300 massive stones placed every single day, without error for more than 2 decades, all while sustaining thousands of workers in the harsh desert environment. Archaeologists tell us that internal ramps spiraled through the pyramid, enabling teams to drag multi-ton blocks upward as the structure rose. Yet no conclusive remains of these ramps have ever been found, and the logistics of building them would have required almost as much effort as the pyramid itself. The granite slabs inside the king's chamber, some weighing over 80 tons, were transported from Aswan, more than 500 miles away. To move them required boats larger and stronger than any ancient vessels ever discovered, navigating a river whose depth and currents would challenge even modern barges. Once at Giza, the task became even more incomprehensible. Hauling stones heavier than tanks across unstable sand, using wooden sledges and hemp ropes that should have snapped under such strain. And then comes the precision. The Great Pyramid's foundation is leveled to within just 2.1 centimeters, over an area large enough to hold 10 football fields. Its sides are aligned to true north with an accuracy of 3 arc minutes, a feat that today demands laser instruments. Yet somehow the builders accomplished it with tools made of copper, wood, and stone. The pyramid encodes mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio with a level of intentionality that suggests knowledge far ahead of its time. Its height multiplied by 1 billion approximates the distance from Earth to the Sun. The ratio of its perimeter to its height reflects pi to astonishing accuracy. How could a civilization supposedly at the dawn of a metallurgy embed such precise cosmological relationships into a tomb? Mainstream archaeology insists there is no mystery, just exceptional observation skills and the ingenuity of a society at its peak. But even within the official narrative, unanswered questions pile up like the very stones of the pyramid itself. Why did the ancient Egyptians never record the construction process in detail, despite documenting even mundane aspects of daily life on papyrus and walls? Why do we find no blueprints, no detailed inscriptions about the engineering, only vague references to workers and offerings to the gods? And why, if the Great Pyramid was merely a tomb, does it lack elaborate decoration or any body of Khufu himself? There is no sarcophagus lid, no hieroglyphic record of the burial, no treasure trove of funerary goods. The chamber that we call the King's Chamber is stark and bare, holding only an empty granite box whose purpose remains a mystery. Even the internal shafts, once dismissed as symbolic, align with stars of deep religious significance, creating pathways to Orion and Sirius with an accuracy rivaling modern telescopes. Was this truly just a burial monument? Or did it serve functions beyond the comprehension of a purely earthly civilization? The official story struggles under the weight of its own contradictions, leaving space for alternative theories that reach beyond pharaohs and copper chisels. For some, the answer lies not in the 4th dynasty, but in a timeline far older than Egypt's own written history. For others, it leads to whispers of technologies lost to time, or knowledge granted by teachers not of this world. Whatever the truth, the accepted narrative feels like a shadow play on the surface of something deeper, a story carefully curated to explain the inexplicable. while leaving the greatest questions intact. Stand before the Great Pyramid at sunrise, and you can feel the weight of its silence pressing against you like an ancient truth that refuses to speak. Every detail of its construction challenges what we assume about the capabilities of a Bronze Age civilization. Over 2 million blocks of limestone, granite, and basalt, many weighing between 2 and 15 tons, were quarried, shaped, and transported with a precision that modern engineers struggle to match. Some of the internal stones, like those in the king's chamber, weigh over 80 tons. To lift such massive slabs nearly 200 feet above ground, using nothing but wooden sledges, levers, and manpower borders on the impossible. Even today, cranes capable of hoisting 80-ton loads are feats of modern engineering. We are told that copper chisels, soft metal by comparison, carved through limestone and even granite. Yet experiments attempting to replicate this have dulled tools within hours. The level of wear would have demanded entire industries devoted solely to tool, repair, and replacement. Yet no such evidence exists on a scale large enough to match the claimed effort. Even if we accept that ramps were used, the logistics remain daunting. External ramps would have needed to stretch for miles to maintain a workable gradient, requiring more material than the pyramid itself. Internal ramps, while more efficient, imply architectural foresight and precision engineering that far surpasses the tools supposedly available. The very idea that a labor force could coordinate the quarrying, transporting, and placing of over 300 stones every single day for 23 years without rest strains credibility to the breaking point. And then there is the alignment, a detail so precise it feels deliberate beyond mere human trial and error. The pyramid's sides are aligned to true north with an error margin of less than 1/20th of a degree. This is not magnetic north, which drifts over time, but true north defined by Earth's axis. To achieve such alignment requires sophisticated astronomical observations, measuring stellar positions across decades to track Earth's slow precession. How did a civilization with no telescopes and no recorded mathematical treatises accomplish what we would struggle to achieve, even today, without advanced equipment? The pyramid also encodes mathematical constants in ways that should have been impossible for the era. Its base perimeter divided by twice its height yields a value close to pi. Its proportions reflect the golden ratio, a pattern found throughout nature and art, yet not formally defined for millennia. Its height multiplied by 1 billion approximates the distance from Earth to the Sun. These relationships might be dismissed as coincidence if they were singular, but their repetition suggests intentional design. What's more, the internal shafts from the king's and queen's chambers point with laser-like accuracy toward specific stars: Orion's belt, Sirius, and the northern pole star of the Pyramid Age. To achieve this, the builders needed an understanding of stellar mechanics spanning thousands of years. The shafts were not symbolic decorations, but precise alignments connecting the pharaoh's soul to the heavens. Yet the very tomb they are said to serve remains empty, undecorated, devoid of the elaborate funerary art found in other royal burials. No mummy of Khufu, no funerary texts, no treasure. Just a bare granite box in a chamber of echoes. So we are left with contradictions. A structure of unimaginable precision, built with supposedly primitive tools. A tomb without a body. A monument aligned with the cosmos itself. The official story can explain parts of the puzzle, but leaves the larger picture blurred, like a mosaic missing its most important tiles. If the accepted narrative cannot fully account for the scale, precision, and purpose of the Great Pyramid, Then what alternative explanations emerge from the shadows of history? Some researchers suggest that these monuments may be far older than the dynasties credited with their construction. One of the most compelling clues lies not in the pyramid itself, but in the silent guardian that crouches nearby, the Great Sphinx. Carved from a single mass of limestone, the Sphinx shows deep vertical erosion patterns more consistent with prolonged rainfall than with desert winds and sand. Yet for over 5,000 years, the Giza Plateau has been arid, receiving only minimal precipitation. Geologists like Robert Schoch argue that such water erosion could only have occurred when Egypt's climate was drastically different, possibly as far back as 7,000 to 9,000 years ago, during a time when the Sahara was a lush savanna. If the Sphinx is truly that ancient, then the entire Giza complex may predate the Fourth Dynasty by millennia. Inherited rather than constructed by the pharaohs we know. Supporting this possibility is the mysterious inventory stele, an inscription discovered in the 1800s near the Great Pyramid. It describes Pharaoh Khufu not as the builder of these monuments, but as a restorer, repairing the Sphinx and other ancient structures that were already old in his time. Mainstream Egyptologists dismiss this stele as a later fabrication, but its weathering, style, and content suggest authenticity that cannot be easily ignored. If Khufu merely restored the Great Pyramid rather than built it, the implications are staggering. The timeline of human civilization would have to stretch much further back, into an era for which we have little to no written record. Carbon dating from organic materials found inside the pyramid complicates matters further, with results spanning centuries before Khufu's reign. Archaeologists explain this away as contamination or the reuse of older materials. Yet the pattern hints at a monument with a layered history, possibly modified and repurposed over ages. Astronomical alignments provide another clue. The shafts of the Great Pyramid do not point to the positions of Orion and Sirius during Khufu's time, but rather to their positions thousands of years earlier, around 10,500 BCE. During that epoch, the three stars of Orion's belt aligned perfectly with the three pyramids of Giza, and the Milky Way mirrored the path of the Nile. Was this coincidence? Or were the builders encoding a cosmic snapshot of a sky long forgotten by the time of the Fourth Dynasty? Around the world, other megalithic sites also suggest great antiquity. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, dated to over 11,000 years ago, reveals sophisticated stonework and astronomical knowledge long before the rise of cities or agriculture. Could the same lost civilization that built Göbekli Tepe have passed its knowledge down to the Nile Valley? Were the pharaohs inheritors of a legacy rather than its originators? Such questions push us into forbidden territory, challenging the linear progression of history as taught in schools. If an earlier civilization had, indeed, achieved technological and astronomical mastery, what cataclysm erased their memory, leaving only scattered monuments as silent witnesses? Myths across cultures speak of great floods and ages of darkness that ended previous worlds. Could the pyramids be remnants of that forgotten age, surviving as a message from a time before recorded time? If so, the question of who built them expands beyond Khufu, beyond Egypt, into the deep past where history fades into legend. When you strip away the comforting veil of the official narrative, a chilling realization begins to take shape. The builders of the Great Pyramid not only mastered monumental engineering, but also embedded within its stones knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and geometry that appears millennia ahead of its time. Could such precision have been achieved solely with copper chisels and ropes? Or did the ancient Egyptians or whoever came before them, possessed technologies that have since vanished from human memory. Consider the mortar binding the pyramid's blocks. Modern chemists have analyzed it and found minerals that do not occur naturally in Egypt, suggesting either vast trade networks or knowledge of synthetic materials that we cannot reproduce today. The joints between the blocks are so precise that even a razor blade cannot slip between them, and yet they were set without modern machinery. Inside the king's chamber, the granite sarcophagus is carved from a single piece of stone, with tolerances rivaling modern machine tools. Its interior polished to a finish that should have been impossible with primitive tools. Even the acoustic properties of the chamber defy simple explanation. It resonates at a frequency that matches the human heartbeat during deep meditation, leading some researchers to suspect it was designed to interact with consciousness itself rather than merely house a corpse. And what of the so-called ventilation shafts? They align with Orion's belt and Sirius as they appeared more than 10,000 years ago, hinting at either knowledge of precessional astronomy spanning vast periods or the use of records inherited from a civilization long lost. Mainstream scholars insist that such feats were achieved through sheer observation and ingenuity. But how could a people at the dawn of metallurgy map the heavens with such timeless accuracy, track stellar movements over thousands of years, and encode cosmic cycles into their architecture? Perhaps they were not inventing this knowledge, but preserving it. Across the globe, megalithic structures echo the same mystery. Colossal stones, cut and placed with inexplicable precision, mathematical relationships encoded into their dimensions, and astronomical alignments that map the heavens. From Stonehenge to Machu Picchu, from the sunken ruins off Japan's coast to the ancient temples of Malta, the same patterns emerge. These monuments appear less like isolated achievements and more like fragments of a forgotten global language, one that speaks of geometry, resonance, and the stars. If humanity once possessed such knowledge, what could have erased it from history so completely? Cataclysmic floods, shifting climates, and geological upheavals may have swept away entire civilizations, leaving only scattered stones as survivors of their age. Ancient myths across cultures tell of gods descending from the sky, teaching humans the arts of agriculture, architecture, and astronomy before vanishing into the heavens. Were these merely symbolic tales? Or were they distorted memories of real encounters with beings whose knowledge seemed divine to those who witnessed it? The deeper you look, the more the lines blur between history, legend, and something even stranger. The Great Pyramid seems less like a mere tomb and more like a message, an intentional monument designed to endure, silently waiting for a future generation capable of deciphering its true purpose. Could it have been left by human hands alone? Or did unseen teachers guide its creation, embedding their knowledge in a form that could withstand the erosion of time? As the mystery deepens, the most controversial theory begins to whisper from the edges of accepted history. What if the knowledge encoded in the Great Pyramid did not originate entirely on Earth? In 1968, Swiss author Erich von Däniken proposed the idea that ancient civilizations may have been visited by advanced beings from distant worlds. Their technology so far beyond human understanding that it appeared divine. The pyramids, he suggested, were not merely royal tombs, but collaborative works between terrestrial builders and cosmic architects. It is easy to dismiss such ideas as science fiction until you consider the astronomical correlations hidden in plain sight. The three pyramids of Giza mirror the alignment of Orion's belt with startling precision, not as the stars appear today, but as they appeared more than 10,500 years ago, during a time when the Milky Way aligned perfectly with the Nile. This configuration, rediscovered by engineer Robert Bauval in the 1990s, suggests that the builders either tracked celestial precession over millennia or inherited star maps far older than dynastic Egypt itself. Why encode a sky thousands of years older than the civilization that supposedly built the monuments? Could it be a message pointing to an epoch long forgotten? Zechariah Sitchin, translating Sumerian cuneiform tablets, spoke of the Anunnaki, celestial beings who descended from the stars to teach early humans astronomy, mathematics, and engineering. According to his controversial interpretations, these beings came from a distant planet and genetically uplifted humanity, leaving behind monuments like the pyramids as both markers and tools. Critics dismiss Sitchin's translations, yet the parallels between Sumerian and Egyptian myths are uncanny. Gods descending from the heavens, bestowing knowledge, and departing with promises to return. The Great Pyramid itself contains mathematical relationships tied not only to Earth, but to the solar system. Its height multiplied by 1 billion approximates the distance from Earth to the Sun. Its base perimeter reflects Earth's equatorial circumference. Such precision would have required global surveying and astronomical instruments far beyond what we believe Bronze Age people possessed. Were these calculations the product of coincidence, or the fingerprints of a civilization or visitors who understood planetary mechanics as we do today? Across the world, legends speak of sky gods, serpent beings, and winged teachers. In Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl descended from the heavens to teach the Maya and Aztec. In India, the ancient Vedas describe flying machines called vimanas that traverse the skies in an age long before recorded history. Even the Bible recounts visions of wheels within wheels, strange vehicles accompanied by beings who glowed with unnatural radiance. Could these myths, scattered across continents, be fragmented memories of the same encounters? The idea of ancient visitors reshapes the pyramid into something more than a tomb. It becomes a message carved in stone, a beacon aligned with Orion and Sirius, two star systems deeply significant in ancient mythologies. The shafts inside the Great Pyramid point directly to these stars, as if designed to guide the soul, or perhaps signal to those who came from beyond. If the pyramid was intended as a bridge between Earth and the cosmos, what knowledge still lies hidden within its undiscovered chambers? What purpose might the massive voids recently detected by muon tomography truly serve? Are they mere architectural anomalies, or sealed rooms holding artifacts from a time when the line between human and divine blurred into the shadow of something greater? As unsettling as it may be, the ancient astronaut hypothesis dares to ask the question mainstream archaeology avoids. Were we alone in building the foundations of civilization? Or did someone, or something, lend a guiding hand? When you widen your gaze beyond the sands of Giza, a strange pattern emerges across the map of the ancient world. The pyramid is not unique to Egypt. It appears like an echo in civilizations separated by oceans and millennia, rising from the jungles of Central America, the misty mountains of China, the volcanic plains of Indonesia, and the arid deserts of Sudan. How did so many disparate cultures, with no known contact, conceive the same monumental shape, encoding the same astronomical and mathematical knowledge into stone? In Mesoamerica, the Maya and their predecessors built stepped pyramids that rival Egypt's in scale and sophistication. The Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan contains roughly the same volume of material as the Great Pyramid of Giza, its base proportions echoing the golden ratio found in nature and art. At Chichen Itza, the famous pyramid of El Castillo aligns so precisely with the equinoxes that, on 2 specific days each year, shadows create the illusion of a serpent descending the staircase, a celestial event requiring generations of astronomical observation. Like their Egyptian counterparts, the Maya understood precession, eclipse cycles, and the complex motions of Venus with astonishing precision, embedding this knowledge into their temples and calendars. Thousands of miles away, in China's Shanxi province, vast pyramid mounds rise beneath blankets of vegetation, many undiscovered until the advent of satellite imagery. Some rival the Great Pyramid in size and show orientations that track stellar alignments, including the pole star and constellations with deep mythological significance. In Sudan, the Kingdom of Kush constructed hundreds of pyramids at Meroe, smaller but more numerous than Egypt's, suggesting that pyramid building was more than just a funerary tradition. It was part of a shared architectural language. In Indonesia, the enigmatic site of Gunung Padang reveals layers of megalithic terraces buried beneath volcanic soil, dated by some researchers to more than 20,000 years ago, an age that would shatter our current timeline of civilization. Even on remote Easter Island, the Moai statues stand guard over structures that some argue conceal pyramid-like platforms beneath their eroded forms. The question grows heavier. Did these civilizations independently invent the same architectural solutions? Or are they remnants of a single, forgotten source of knowledge? Mainstream archaeology clings to the idea of coincidence, suggesting that pyramids are simply the most stable shape for stacking heavy stones. Yet coincidence struggles to explain why so many of these monuments encode the same constants: pi, phi, and proportions tied to Earth's dimensions. It cannot explain why they are all aligned to cardinal points or celestial events with a precision that rivals modern instruments. Nor can it explain the acoustic properties many share, resonances and echo effects that seem designed, not accidental. Myths and legends across cultures add another layer of intrigue. The Maya spoke of feathered serpents descending from the sky to teach them the sciences of time and architecture. The Chinese told stories of heavenly beings who descended in fiery chariots, bringing knowledge of astronomy and agriculture. In Egypt, gods like Thoth and Osiris were said to have given sacred geometry and cosmic wisdom to humanity. In Sumer, the Anunnaki appeared in their oldest texts as teachers from the stars. Different names, different cultures, yet the same archetype. Beings from the heavens who bestowed civilization's foundations. Are these parallel myths the product of human imagination alone? Or do they preserve fragmented memories of actual events, encoded in the stones of monuments that have survived, while written records faded into dust? The deeper we follow this global trail of stone, the more it suggests a hidden chapter in humanity's story, one erased by time and cataclysm. Legends from nearly every culture speak of a great flood or cosmic disaster that wiped out an advanced civilization, leaving only scattered survivors to rebuild from the ashes. Could the pyramids and megaliths be the last enduring relics of that lost world? Constructed by a civilization so ancient it predates recorded history? Sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, dated to over 11,000 years ago, already challenge the linear timeline of progress. There, hunter-gatherers, supposedly primitive, created massive stone pillars adorned with sophisticated carvings and aligned to celestial events. If such knowledge existed before agriculture, then the seeds of advanced civilization stretch back far beyond what textbooks allow. What if this knowledge was not born in isolation, but inherited from an even older culture? One whose memory has been reduced to myth. Consider the precision embedded within the Great Pyramid. Its base perimeter, when measured in ancient cubits, reflects a fraction of Earth's equatorial circumference. Its height encodes the ratio between Earth and the Moon. These are not coincidences. They are cosmic signatures, an intentional message carved into stone. Across the ocean, the Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan encodes the same ratios, as if both structures were created using a shared blueprint. The implication is unsettling. Either separate cultures somehow achieved the same astronomical knowledge independently, or they were connected through a global network we have long forgotten. Climate science adds another clue. Around 12,800 years ago, the Earth experienced a sudden cataclysm known as the Younger Dryas event, likely caused by a massive comet impact or series of impacts that drastically altered the planet's climate. Sea levels rose, ecosystems collapsed, and entire regions became uninhabitable. Could an advanced civilization have flourished before this catastrophe, leaving behind monuments like the pyramids as survivors of an age swept away by disaster? The myths seem to remember. In Egypt, they spoke of Zep Tepi, the first time, an era when gods walked among mortals before a great upheaval. In Sumer, the tales of the Anunnaki tell of divine rulers who departed after cataclysmic floods. In India, the ancient Vedas describe cyclical destructions of humanity, with each age ending in fire, flood, or cosmic war. Are these merely symbolic stories, or encoded memories of real events experienced by ancient ancestors? If such a civilization once spanned the globe, its purpose may not have been merely practical or architectural. The pyramids, with their sacred geometry and precise alignments, hint at a deeper function, perhaps as spiritual technologies designed to elevate consciousness or connect humanity to cosmic rhythms. Inside the Great Pyramid, the king's chamber resonates at a frequency that matches the theta waves of the human brain during meditation. Across the world, at Chichen Itza, the sound of a clap at the base of the pyramid echoes back as the cry of the sacred Quetzal bird, a sonic illusion engineered with precision. Did these ancient builders understand the hidden relationships between sound, vibration, and human awareness? Were these monuments designed as more than tombs, serving instead as tools for transformation, gateways between the earthly and the divine? If so, then the pyramids were not simply marking the heavens. They were designed to bridge them, to remind future generations that humanity's potential reaches far beyond what we currently imagine. These scattered remnants, aligned to stars, resonating with hidden frequencies, encoding knowledge of Earth and sky, may be the fingerprints of a civilization whose purpose was not only to build, but to teach. Stand long enough in the shadow of the Great Pyramid, and you begin to sense that it is more than stone and mathematics. It feels alive, like a silent witness to ages that came before, holding secrets too vast for simple answers. We are told it is a tomb, yet no body has ever been found. We are told it was built by Khufu, yet the evidence of his authorship is a single disputed cartouche scrawled in a hidden chamber. We are told it was achieved with copper chisels and ropes, yet modern engineers cannot replicate its precision without laser tools and cranes. What then are we truly looking at? Perhaps it is a monument not to the life of one pharaoh, but to an entire epic of lost knowledge, a chapter erased from human history. If a civilization existed before recorded time, more advanced than we dare admit, What happened to it? Did it fall to cataclysm, as the myths of floods and fire suggest? Was it consumed by its own hubris, leaving only fragments of its wisdom behind? And if the pyramids are relics of this forgotten age, what was their purpose? Were they cosmic observatories, mapping the heavens for reasons we no longer understand? Were they energy devices harnessing forces we have yet to rediscover? Or were they temples designed to bridge the human soul with something greater, tools for transformation that our ancestors knew how to use, but we have long since forgotten? The alignments to Orion, Sirius, and the Pole Star speak of a mind not obsessed with death, but with eternity. The geometry speaks of a language beyond words, a code of proportions found in nature, music, and the human body. Even the placement of the three pyramids, mirroring Orion's belt, suggests a deliberate message. As above, so below. What were the builders trying to tell us? Some see the hand of lost human genius, a reminder that our species has risen and fallen before. Others see the fingerprints of teachers from the stars, beings whose knowledge shaped the dawn of civilization. Both possibilities are unsettling. If it was us, then we are a species with amnesia, unaware of what we once were capable of. If it was them, then we are not alone in our journey of becoming. And yet, despite centuries of study, the pyramids remain silent. We probe their chambers with radar and muons, discovering voids hidden deep within their hearts. But the answers remain elusive. It is as if the builders intended for their secret to endure beyond time, waiting for the right moment or the right consciousness to unlock it. The desert winds whisper their riddle across the sands, a reminder that history is not what we think it is. That truth is not always written in books, but carved into stone. The pyramids do not demand that you believe any single theory. They simply invite you to question everything you have been told. They stand not as answers, but as mirrors, reflecting the limits of our understanding and the boundless scope of our curiosity. And so the greatest mystery of the ancient world endures, unchanged by the march of empires or the advance of science, waiting for the day when we are ready to see it for what it truly is. As the first light of dawn strikes the ancient stones, turning them to gold, you begin to understand why the pyramids have outlasted the empires that rose and fell in their shadow. They were never meant to answer questions. They were built to provoke them. Every block, every angle, every alignment whispers of a purpose beyond mere mortality. They stand at the threshold between earth and the heavens, a bridge between the known and the unknowable. And perhaps that was the builder's true intention, not to leave us with certainty, but to leave us with wonder. If they were truly tombs, why encode the secrets of the cosmos into their dimensions? If they were simply monuments to power, why align them with the stars of Orion and Sirius, stars tied to myths of gods descending from the sky? Why carve them with proportions that reflect the geometry of Earth itself? As if to say, we understood the planet, we understood the heavens, and we understood the hidden harmony between them? Some archaeologists insist the explanation is mundane, that with enough time, labor, and ingenuity, anything is possible. But even they cannot deny the unanswered questions. Why do these monuments have no detailed records of their construction, no blueprints, no scripts describing the process? Why do similar structures with similar knowledge appear across the globe in civilizations supposedly separated by thousands of miles and years? The official narrative feels like a story written to comfort us, a way to contain the uncontainable within the walls of what we already understand. But the stones themselves refuse to be contained. They pull us toward a deeper truth, one that suggests humanity has been here before, more advanced, more connected to the cosmos, and that something, some great event, swept it all away. Or perhaps they tell of visitors who arrived when the world was young, seeding knowledge, shaping destiny, then leaving humanity to walk its own path in ignorance and rediscovery. The ancient texts hint at it. The myths remember it. And the monuments stand as evidence that refuses to be ignored. So we are left at a crossroads, staring into the silence of 4,000 years. We can choose the comfortable story, the one that explains everything with copper chisels and ramps. Or we can choose to ask harder questions, to accept that our history might not be as simple or as human as we believe. The Great Pyramid waits. Patient as always, its hidden chambers still sealed, its purpose still veiled. And beyond Giza, the mystery only deepens. From the jungles of the Maya to the mists of China, from the forgotten terraces of Indonesia to the buried cities of Turkey, the same patterns appear, like a global memory etched in stone. Were these monuments part of a larger design, a network of knowledge connecting the planet in an age before our recorded past? In the next chapter of our journey, we will follow these echoes across the world. We will look beyond the sands of Egypt to uncover the secrets buried in other lands, explore the possibility of lost civilizations and their links to the stars, and confront the unsettling question that has haunted humanity for generations. If the pyramids were not merely the work of ancient kings, then who or what left these messages for us to find?